Do you know the main religions in Japan?
Actually, I don't think I do. Welcome to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa, and today Alyssa is going to tell us some more about Japan, and she has some more missionary story, and we have a group that we're excited to tell you about at the end. So let's get started with Japan.
So, the two main religions in Japan are Shintoism and Buddhism. So if you go to Japan, you're going to find a lot of different kinds of temples and such to remember these religions that are very interwoven into the whole Japanese culture. So I want to show you a little bit about those temples today, and then I have another one for a different day. So this one is just right in the middle of the city. Literally, we were like walking along, and all of a sudden it was like a little walkway and garden thing right in the middle, and so we walked in just to see what it looked like. And it's all about like peacefulness and having inner peace and whatever, and that these shrines are like homes to the different kinds of gods. So here would be like another home. It's not necessarily a place of worship, but it's like a home for one of these many thousands of gods and family members, and however it all works. Now, while we were there in Japan, it also happened to be fall because it was around Thanksgiving time, and so we had to enjoy the leaves too, which was really exciting because we don't have, Guam doesn't have fall colors. So there's a nice fall leaf in the middle of everything. But here's another one of those little temple areas, basically to be another home for a different god or being in this very peaceful garden area. And then they had a couple little Buddha statues, and I'm sure there's a lot of symbolism that I don't really know all that much about, but it is still really interesting. It's sad at the same time because you know that these idols don't have ears to hear people who are talking to them or asking for things, but there are many thousands and millions of people who think that this is the way to earn favor and to be able to have peace in life. Sometimes too, the temples are a lot grander looking. So this one was one that we found further into the city, but still, look, it's in the middle of the city, but there are all these trees and stuff, and the entrance to that place is huge. So tall. I wish I knew like all the history on that design, but that is like a very common design with like those two vertical posts and then like kind of like a curved one and then a straight one across, because it's everywhere in their temples. But their temples have like all this walking space, and then it's almost like layers of temple after that.
That entrance kind of looks like the entrance, well, both of them on either of these pictures, looks like the entrance to a building with like the walls and then the roof.
Oh, yeah. But it's just all open air space.
Yeah.
It's like not all enclosed.
But I wonder if it's related though, because it kind of looks like the front of a building without the building being there. Like, I think in the next picture we'll see it's a very similar shape.
That's true. I can see that like shape design here. This seemed like the main courtyard area, and at this point we weren't with our friends yet, so it was kind of just us wandering around and trying to interpret the rest of what we saw.
Oops.
But it was interesting and a very like calm and quiet atmosphere with all the people that were coming to be here or to look at the different things. And there's a lot of beauty in it and a lot of original ideas in the way that they put together their architecture and stuff that doesn't quite look like what we're used to seeing. But in the same sense, it's sad because it's not the truth, and there are so many people who think this is truth and who live to go to these places and to say these different things and to follow these different rituals, only to be empty inside. So that's a little bit about some of the like city temples in Japan. We also got to go to one outside the city, and that one was a lot more unique, and that one we went to with our friends, so they explained a lot more about like the the symbolism of things and why you do things like this and some of the cultural process, which was very new to me. I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many Japanese temples we have here in the U.S. We know we have a Buddhist temple not too far from us, but I don't know too much about it outside of that. Okay, I do know that I have some more story though.
Okay.
And you can go get a snack. We have our story from last time. Remember, Nard was trying to see if he could go to school. Do you remember what he had to be able to do? Had to be able to reach over his head and touch his ear. And he was able to do it. So he got to go to school and he was so excited. He was done working in the jungle. He was not going to have to pick up sticks anymore for the firewood. And off he skipped to school, and he was done working in the jungle. But he soon found out that going to school was not as fun as he thought. Because at school, they spoke a completely different language, and all the words were different in his books, and it was so much harder than he thought it was going to be. Because his language wasn't written down yet. Remember that? We talked about that way back at the beginning. So since his language wasn't written down, they just used another Filipino dialect that was written down. So that meant he had to learn a new language when he went to school, and he really didn't like that at all. And so after a little bit, he came up with a new plan. And his new plan was he got his lunch all wrapped up in a banana leaf every morning for school, and he walked off his house, and instead of going to school, he met up with this missionary, Richard, and they sat and talked. Now, Nard didn't tell Richard he was supposed to go to school, so Richard didn't know. But Nard thought it was really fun because he got to spend time just talking with this man and hearing funny words. So what they began to do is they began to share words with each other. So Nard pointed to a coconut, and Richard told him that the word in English was coconut, and Nard thought that sounded really funny, and so he laughed about it for a little bit. Then he tried to say it, and then Richard asked, well, what do you call it instead in your language? And then Nard told him, and Richard would write some little things down in his book, some different symbols to help him remember the sounds that they made. And this way, Richard got to learn a lot of words that he needed to know for the language of the Isneg people, like monkey and table and all of these different things. Well, Nard really enjoyed this, but one day somebody discovered his secret, and his family was not happy at all that he was not going to school and that he was skipping out on doing chores. So instead of going to school for the rest of that year, he had to go back and do jobs again. So he had to go pick up the firewood and go fishing and work in the jungle and do all those things because he had kind of skipped out on going to school. But the next school year came around, and his family said he could try again as long as he actually went to school. So he went back to school, and his teacher handed him a book, and this time the book had words that he knew. And it was transcribed, it was written out and translated by this missionary. And so now Nard understood why that missionary wanted to learn all the words that Nard knew and to be able to help him. Now, Richard's main goal wasn't just to help the people be able to have a way to have their own language written down. His real goal was to translate the New Testament, so the second half of the Bible. And so he was there to learn those words, and he was really thankful for all that he had learned from Nard and helped out with Nard's school to be able to get them some books in their own language. So Richard began to work in his little hut to translate the New Testament, and he started in the book of Mark, and he took a long time because he wanted each one of those words to have meaning for the people, for the Isneg people, and for it to make sense for them so that they could understand God's message. So he took a long time in translating each of the words and the ideas and making sure that it made sense for the language of the people, and he wanted them to be able to hear God's message to them. So you're going to have to come back to hear how his translation work goes and what else happens with the boy who is really helpful.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yep. Do you want to tell us about a group today?
I am. So today I'm going to tell you about our church and a group. Alyssa knew this, so if she's pretending like she doesn't know, I don't know why, because she's part of what we're telling you about today. So our church, Lighthouse Baptist Church, is going down to Arizona this summer to do a missions trip. And like I said, Alyssa is in that group. And we are going to the Phoenix area to a church that we may have showed you before. Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have.
We have, because my brother's church went down and did a missions trip there last summer. So we are going to Grace Baptist Church in Scottsdale, a suburb of Phoenix. And we are going to help the church there and Pastor Wayne Dale with some community outreach things, with some different evangelistic opportunities, all in an effort to help this church get their name out more and get people connected with them. And so this is the picture of the building that we've showed you before, and the church is not the building, but this is the building where the church meets. And this is inside. We've been there for one of their services before, and we're excited because when we take our group down, we're going to have an opportunity not just to serve with them during the week, but on the Sunday that we are there to be able to participate in their Sunday service. And so there is a picture of Pastor Wayne Dale and his wife, and there's a picture of Pastor Dale preaching. And I don't have a picture yet of our group. That is why it is not in here. But we are going to have about 14 adults and teens down there, and 2 really little guys. Some little infant type kids that are coming with us. So it's going to be a good group of people, and we are excited about this opportunity to serve among them and to also help our church become more familiar with missions and all that is involved. A lot of the people in our group are going to be raising money for the trip, something that many of them have never had to do before. And so we would ask that you would pray for us as a group as we send out letters to people and ask them to help support our church and our trip financially and in prayer, because that'll be a big step of faith for a lot of people. And also that we would have wisdom and patience as we prepare, because we're memorizing Romans 12. We're also going through a book together that talks about evangelism. And so we're doing a lot of different things that help us become more familiar with what missions is, why it's important, and what our missionaries have to go through when they go to the field. Because it's not as easy as just presenting your ministry and then going there. There's a lot of work involved. And so pray for us as we go through that process, that we will learn together and have a great time doing it, and that we will grow closer to Christ in the process. And also that we will be able to be a help to Grace Baptist Church. So that is our, I guess you could call it our missionary presentation for today. And we're looking forward to helping lead this group in a few months.
Yeah, it's going to come here really fast.
Yeah.
June will be here before we know it.
Yep, so we'll make sure that we update you once we get there, and we'll have some more pictures of the group and not just showing you the church that's down there.
Yep. Well, thanks for watching.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. And we had something hidden this week, maybe a little easier than normal, but sometimes it's not always like that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.